Alright, so before I say anything, just keep in mind that I have not owned an Xbox system for any long period of time. I always ended up falling back to Sony as my main console of choice, and so far it's been working out pretty well for me. However, I did always want more reasons to buy an Xbox system, and that's kind of what I got from today's showcase. And I know people are hysterical about the graphics on Halo Infinite and the fact that there, again, was more CG trailers and actual gameplay, but I want to give my own 2 cents. First off, we gotta talk about that Halo presentation. I will stay unbiased because I've only played a bit of the very first Halo game, but it seems like more people are happy to see it's more of an open environment type game, and judging not only from the box art that we've seen so far, but the gameplay they showed off, it is really reminiscent of the very first Halo game. But if we're talking about the textures and the other graphics, I mean, I don't know, man. For this to be a flagship series for Xbox, I would have thought it would look a lot better than this. That's not even to say that the game's going to be bad because it looks like it plays very well, but compared to other games in the showcase, it doesn't really seem like Halo Infinite is taking enough advantage of what Xbox has to offer. However, I will say that them having the game running at a full 60 FPS is definitely a good thing, even if it means they're going to take a hit on visuals. But moving on from Halo, we have another game that caught my attention, even though I probably won't ever touch it, but that is State of Decay 3, and it caught my attention for only 2 reasons. Number one is that there's a fucking zombie deer eating a wolf in the trailer. That is some really decent shock value right there. Definitely props to them for that. But number 2 is the fact that the protagonist in that trailer is a black female. And as a matter of fact, there's a few trailers in the entire showcase that does portray black females, and overall that's just a great thing. And I will segue that into my next interesting game, The Gunk. I'm personally very excited for this because it's made by the devs of the Steam World series, and I love most of those games. I haven't played all of them just yet, but these guys going from the art style of those games into something like The Gunk, it is just an absolutely beautiful game. And even the gameplay itself seems to be kind of reminiscent of Steam World. Instead of you digging through the dirt and digging tunnels, you're actually just cleaning up gunk and you're moving around through the gunk. But man, I just love the art style, I love the art direction, everything about this game so far looks great. And hopefully it does have decent upgrades and progression because already it looks like fun just sucking up the gunk and fighting off enemy monsters. Now next, I don't really have much to say about these 2 fantasy RPG games that they showed off, but they did catch my eye. And those games being Avowed, a new RPG game from Obsidian that kind of reminds me of Skyrim, and also the next Fable game. I have never touched a Fable game in my life, but I have many friends that swear on that series and say that it is a great time. And again, that trailer was entirely in CG, but going from the 360 to the Series X, and also if the trailer has anything to show for what the graphics might look like in the future, this is going to be a really beautiful game. And also with Avowed, we have the same thing, a CG trailer, but I have even less to say about this one, of course, because all we see is like a sword and some hand just covered in magic, and I mean, it looks interesting enough. But what I will say about another Obsidian project is that the expansion for the Outer Worlds is looking pretty decent so far. I still haven't taken the time to finish the main game, but when I do dive back in, it's very nice to see that I'll have more to play as well. And finally, the last game that really caught my attention was Psychonauts 2. And bro, I love this trailer not only because it did have some gameplay and the visuals were just on point, but they had a musical number from Jack Black himself. And man, just seeing this game compared to the first one, it is absolutely mind-blowing. And yeah, it's going to be when you're going from the PS2 early Xbox era into the Xbox One / Xbox Series X era, but hey, just seeing the series go from this very dark Tim Burton-like aesthetic to something like this is super refreshing. But outside of my personal highlights regarding the showcase, let's talk about some of the discourse. I talked about this before, but people really have an issue when it comes to these showcases saying that they're going to have gameplay and all they have is just these animations and CG. And games like Avowed, for example, you can't say much about it because all you have is just a CG trailer that lasts for what, 30 seconds? Just the title of your game and some CG animation is kind of like showing off the Elder Scrolls 6. And it's nice to know that games are coming out, but people want to actually see gameplay and not just titles. What I looked for today was a good number of games and a variety of exclusives. And just looking for those 2 things, I can say I was not disappointed. I obviously would have preferred more gameplay, but knowing a lineup of games to look forward to this holiday season and beyond is also important as well. I will say this though, and again this is coming from somebody who's been outside of the Xbox ecosystem for a very long time, but looking at how everything goes into Game Pass almost seamlessly makes me almost more excited about signing up for Game Pass than buying an Xbox system in general, and that goes not only for the Xbox One but also for the Series X. The sheer value of games that it has to offer is exactly what Xbox builds on more and more as they have these events, and it's to the point where if I do pick up a Series X, I might just get Game Pass and ride that out for a year without buying a single game. But back to the overall showcase, I have to say it wasn't mind-blowing by any means, but it does make me interested in jumping back into Xbox life a little bit more than I already am. And also it is interesting because I talked to some of my friends about this, and what they've told me is pretty much if I have a PC, which I definitely have a PC, and I just sign up for Game Pass, I can access a lot of those games that are coming out on launch day from my PC. And I can have a whole discussion going into what PlayStation should do to combat Game Pass and what Game Pass has to offer that is just so great as a whole, as just by itself. But I'd rather not make this video entirely too long going into all of that. But tell me what you guys think about the Xbox showcase. Do you think they should have showed off more gameplay, more hands-on stuff rather than just CGI trailers? And also let me know what you guys think about Game Pass. Is that really going to be the bread and butter of Xbox going into the next generation? Don't forget to follow me on Twitter where we can keep the conversation going. And that's it for today, so I'll see you guys in the next one.